You can do everything right and still end up missing from your own life. The bills are paid, the messages are answered, people know they can count on you. Nothing is on fire. And yet, at 7:14 on an ordinary Tuesday, you are eating dinner over the sink while something plays in the background. And the day feels less like something you lived than something you successfully processed. That feeling has a specific shape. A life can work without being inhabited. The dangerous part is that a working life gives you no obvious emergency. There is nothing dramatic enough to escape. Just a low, private sense that you are maintaining a place you no longer quite occupy. This video is about how that happens, how to tell the difference between a hard month and a life you have stopped entering, and one small test you can try tonight. After that, I will give you 3 longer experiments. None of them require you to blow up a life that may still be worth keeping. From the outside, an inhabited life and an operated life can look almost identical. Both people wake up, go to work, buy groceries, remember birthdays, and make plans for next year. They can sit beside each other at the same restaurant and laugh at the same story. The difference is harder to photograph. One person feels contact with what is happening. The other keeps arriving a few seconds late to their own experience. You know the second feeling if you have ever driven a familiar route and reached the destination with almost no memory of the road. Your hands made every turn. You stopped at the lights. You were safe, but the trip left no trace. Now imagine that happening across a week. You remember that Tuesday was busy because you were tired. You know the weekend happened because the laundry is folded. You know you saw your friend because there is a photo of the two of you. But when you try to recall what any of it felt like, the week becomes strangely smooth. Nothing catches. This is the gray middle. A life that is stable enough to continue and distant enough to feel unreal. It is easy to dismiss because functioning gets rewarded. At work, reliability looks like health. In a family, usefulness looks like strength. People thank you for handling things. Nobody pulls you aside because you answered every email and remembered to renew the insurance. So the flatness begins to look like a character flaw. You wonder whether you are ungrateful. You assume you need a better vacation. You tell yourself this is what adulthood feels like once the interesting part is over. Sometimes it is simply a rough season. Life occasionally narrows because something genuinely needs all of you. But the feeling can also stay because your days have been organized around keeping life operational, with almost no space left to register that it belongs to you. Maintenance is the office work of being alive. Prescriptions, groceries, laundry, forms, appointments, passwords, the message that needs exactly the right tone. Most of it is necessary. Some of it is love. You call your father back because he matters. You clean the kitchen because tomorrow is easier when the sink is empty. The trouble starts when every action points away from the hour you are currently in. You cook so you can work tomorrow. You sleep so you can perform tomorrow. You use Saturday to recover from Friday and prepare for Monday. Even rest becomes maintenance when its only job is to return you to acceptable condition. You can complete a beautiful, efficient Saturday. Pharmacy, groceries, car wash, bills, meal prep, a family call, one episode in bed. By Sunday night, it barely feels as if the day happened. You did not waste it. You kept the machine running, but very little reached you. Memory does not treat a clean sink the same way it treats a conversation that surprised you, a wrong turn that became a long walk, or 20 minutes spent making something you were bad at. Those moments have texture. Maintenance tends to erase its own footprints. That is why a person can have a full calendar and very little sense of having been anywhere. Before diagnosing your career, relationship, city, or entire personality, there is a smaller thing you can test. Tonight, choose 1 minute that was already going to happen. Rinse a mug, make tea, take the trash downstairs, stand by the window while the microwave runs. For that minute, leave the headphones out. Keep the phone on the counter. Let the next task wait until the minute is finished. Then notice one thing precise enough that you could not have noticed it from somewhere else. The temperature of the water through the ceramic, the refrigerator clicking off, the smell in the hallway, the 2 seconds of silence after a car passes. You are not trying to manufacture wonder. The mug can remain a mug. The hallway may be ugly. You may feel bored. The test is simpler. Can an ordinary moment still reach you when you stop covering it? If the answer is yes, even briefly your life may not be empty. Contact with it may simply be rare. That does not solve the larger problem. It gives you a useful clue. The issue may be less about what your life contains and more about how much of it you are available to experience. Maintenance explains how contact gets crowded out, but it does not explain why some achievements feel empty almost as soon as they arrive. For that, look at the goals that organized the life in the first place. There is a particular disappointment that arrives after good news. You get the promotion. The message lands at 3:46 in the afternoon. Your manager adds an exclamation mark. Friends send congratulations. For 10 minutes, your body feels lighter. Then you sit in the car outside the building and begin calculating what the new role will cost. Longer hours, new expectations, a different version of you to perform for people who now have a reason to watch. By the time you get home, the achievement has already turned into administration. The promotion was real, the effort was real, the relief was real too. It may simply have answered a different question from the one you thought you were asking. Some goals are built to create experience, curiosity, mastery, closeness, movement, the pleasure of making something exist. Other goals are built to settle social fear. They prove that you are safe, respectable, employable, chosen, or not falling behind. Social fear is not imaginary. Rent matters. Approval can affect where you are welcomed. A stable job can change a family. The mistake is expecting a goal designed for safety to also create intimacy with your life. Many goals enter before we are old enough to examine them. Parents want security for us. Schools reward what can be counted. Friends provide a moving reference point. Online, a life becomes legible through visible milestones. Eventually, the borrowed goal no longer feels borrowed. It feels obvious. Earn more, stay busy, live somewhere presentable. Become the kind of person whose answer to "How have you been?" sounds convincing. You can spend years building that answer. Then the apartment is yours, the salary is higher, the relationship looks right, and some private part of you is still waiting to be consulted. This does not mean the apartment is wrong or the relationship is fake. It means success can remove a source of anxiety without adding a source of aliveness. Relief fades quickly because its job is to close a threat. It was never designed to give the day texture. That is why "what do I want?" can feel almost rude. Wanting is messy. It may be impractical, hard to explain, or impossible to turn into a 5-year plan. If every adult decision has needed to be reasonable, profitable, or reassuring to someone else, preference becomes a language you understand, but no longer speak. You do not recover it by demanding a life purpose from yourself on a Sunday night. You recover it by noticing smaller movements. What holds your attention after the reward disappears? What you miss before anyone suggests it? What leaves you tired, but somehow more solid? That last distinction matters because emptiness is often mistaken for a lack of pleasure. The earlier loss is usually anticipation. When anticipation disappears, people often respond by adding more plans. Another dinner, another subscription, another weekend arranged before the current one has begun. The calendar becomes busier, but the future still feels flat because obligation and anticipation are not interchangeable. Anticipation contains a small amount of desire. You can feel yourself leaning towards something. Without that lean, even pleasant plans arrive as appointments you happen to enjoy once you are there. You can still enjoy dinner. A show can still make you laugh. A drink with friends can still be good. What disappears is the sense that something is coming toward you. Look at the next 30 days. There may be meetings, birthdays, errands, deadlines, and a weekend trip you agreed to months ago. The calendar is full, but is there anything you are quietly glad is getting closer? It could be small, a meal you want to cook, a person whose knock on the door changes the room, a class, a project, an empty afternoon you have protected from everybody. Anticipation gives time an edge. It lets an experience gather weight before it arrives. Modern life is very good at removing that edge. Almost everything is available immediately. You can watch any episode, order any meal, hear any song, and look into 1,000 other lives before bed. Convenience reduces waiting, but waiting was sometimes where desire had room to become visible. When nothing has to arrive, you can consume constantly without feeling that anything happened. There is another way the forward edge disappears. You begin watching your experience from the outside. On vacation, part of your attention is already arranging the photograph. During dinner, you hear yourself shaping the story you will tell later. On a free evening, you calculate whether you are using it well enough. Life becomes something you summarize afterward. This is where easy advice usually blames the phone, but the phone is often only the easiest place to hide when you are exhausted. A stupid show can genuinely restore you. Scrolling can also leave you feeling thinner than when you began. The activity alone does not tell you which one happened. Use a more honest distinction. Afterward, do you feel restored, connected, or more available to the rest of your life? Or do you feel as if the hour passed without you? The same couch can produce either result. The difference is not moral, it is evidence. And once you start collecting that evidence, you can see the structure of the week more clearly. For 7 ordinary days, write 3 words at the top of a page: maintenance, performance, presence. At the end of each day, add a few moments under the column that best describes what they were doing inside your life. Do not account for every minute. This is a sketch, not an investigation. Do not account for every minute. This is a sketch, not an investigation. Maintenance kept things running. Work admin, food, cleaning, errands, appointments, logistics, family obligations. Performance helped you appear competent, successful, interesting, agreeable, or in control. It includes work, but it can also dress itself as leisure. A hard gym session might belong under presence because you loved the physical concentration. The same session might belong under performance because you spent the entire time afraid of becoming visibly undisciplined. The behavior does not choose the column. The experience does. Presence is any moment in which you felt contact with what you were doing. It does not have to be pleasant. A difficult conversation can be presence. So can fixing a shelf, cooking with music on, learning something frustrating, or sitting with a friend without managing how you sound. A normal Tuesday might put the commute, invoices, dinner, and a pharmacy run under maintenance. The carefully photographed workout might go under performance. 10 frustrating minutes repairing a loose cabinet hinge might go under presence because, for once, your attention was exactly where your hands were. If a moment could fit 2 columns, ask what would remain if nobody could see it, praise it, or be disappointed by it. The answer usually reveals what the activity was doing for you. At the end of the week, look at the page before you try to improve it. Many people expect to discover that they are lazy or wasting time. What they actually find is a week crowded with legitimate maintenance and subtle performance. Their life is not vacant. It is occupied by activities that keep it acceptable and explainable. The presence column may be small. Resist the urge to optimize it into another duty. The useful question is where presence already appeared by accident. Was it around certain people, during physical work, late at night after everyone stopped asking things from you, while solving a difficult problem, in a room where nobody knew your name? You are looking for conditions, not commandments. The page will not tell you to quit your job. It may tell you that every hour outside the job has quietly become recovery, preparation, or proof. That is a different problem and a more precise one. Once during the next week, do one thing that does not need to become evidence. Take a walk without recording the distance. Cook something slow for one person. Draw badly on paper you will throw away. Learn 3 guitar chords nobody is waiting to hear. Sit in a cafe without turning the hour into work. You can tell someone later. Secrecy is not the point. The experiment is to notice what happens before you tell them. For many people, the first few minutes are irritating. The mind starts looking for a purpose. You want to take a picture, improve the result, mention it in a message, or convert it into proof that you are becoming an interesting person. That impulse shows how often an invisible audience has been present in the room. An audience is useful when you are performing, teaching, selling, or sharing. It becomes expensive when it follows you everywhere. Under constant observation, even private pleasure begins rehearsing its explanation. Stay with the activity just long enough for it to become yours again. Do not repeat it because it is good for you. Repeat it only if something about the experience stayed with you after there was nobody to impress. And please do not create a tracker called No Audience Experiment. That would be funny, but it would also defeat the point. What should I do with my life? Sounds serious, but it is often too large to produce an honest answer. The question invites a performance. Your mind reaches for careers, cities, relationships, and identities that would make sense when explained to someone else. For 1 month, replace it with this. What gave energy back today even though it took effort? Write 1 line, no rating system, no weekly transformation report. The answer may be a conversation you were nervous to have, helping someone understand something, repairing a bicycle, cooking a long meal that destroyed the kitchen, 40 minutes on a piece of work that nobody assigned. It may also be a nap. The question is not biased toward productivity. Over time, a pattern may appear. Some activities are easy and leave you absent. Some are difficult and return you to yourself. Some people exhaust you because you are acting around them. Others tire you because you were fully engaged, which is a different kind of tired. This is more useful than asking what makes you happy. Happiness is too dependent on timing, sleep, money, weather, and whether someone sent a strange message at lunch. Energy returned after effort is quieter evidence. It can reveal where your attention becomes voluntary again. You are building a record of preference from inside your actual days. That record is usually more trustworthy than a fantasy about the person you should become. It will not hand you a dramatic answer. It may show you that the life you already have contains doors you stopped opening. There is a boundary worth keeping clear. This video is about the gray middle, feeling distant or flat, while small moments can still reach you. If the emptiness is persistent, everything feels hopeless. You have lost interest in things you usually care about, or you are thinking about hurting yourself or not wanting to be here. Treat that as something more serious than a problem of attention. Contact a doctor, therapist, crisis service, or emergency support where you live. You do not need to wait until your life visibly falls apart before asking for help. Most lives that feel empty do not need an immediate replacement. They may need to be entered again before they can be judged clearly. That entry can be almost embarrassingly small. 1 minute in the kitchen with nothing playing, 1 walk that produces no evidence, 1 page that shows where the week actually went, 1 honest line about what returned something to you. Then it is Tuesday again, 7:14 p.m. The dishwasher is running. Dinner is still ordinary. Tomorrow still contains emails, errands, and the version of you other people depend on. But for a moment, you hear the machine stop. The room goes quiet, and you are there when it does. Nothing announces that this is your life. It simply becomes harder to miss.